Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second webinar of today. We have one more after this and two more tomorrow. And we're so excited for you to join us here today and with our speaker, Korrine Johnson, who we're super excited to chat with. And we're going to jump in with her in just a minute. But a couple things that I want to go over first is, first of all, if there's anyone new here, I want to introduce myself. My name is Stephanie Grice, and I'm the Senior Client Champion and Education Coordinator at Travefy. But we also have Scott Rutz from the Travefy team as well in the background. He's going to be helping with questions. So if you get a reply and it's from Scott Rutz, that is him back there. So he's helping us out as well. But again, before I get started and chat with Korrine, I do want to quickly share an overview of Travefy Academy and what to expect on today's webinar if this is your first time joining. So if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're pumped to have you. If this isn't, I'm sorry. I know you've probably heard this before, but we just always like to just share why we're doing this. And Travefy Academy is a free educational resource to further Travefy's mission to power the success of travel professionals. But our team has the privilege to work with thousands of amazing travel advisors and organizations daily. And we get to partner with many of these industry experts and thought leaders to bring you powerful content and educational webinars to help you grow your travel business like this one today. So it's important to note that these webinars are not commercial in nature to specifically promote any of our industry speakers or panelists, including Travefy, in which Travefy Academy content does not focus on Travefy's products. So with that being said, thanks again for joining us today. And if you ever want more information on Travefy Academy and view our other content, go to academy.travefy.com and you'll find everything in there. You'll also find everything that has to do with the sales workshop that we're putting on today and tomorrow. And this is our second session of the sales workshop. So if this is your first session joining us, something really important that I want to point out is if you want to join any other session. So we have one more later today at 5 p.m. Eastern, and then we have two tomorrow as well. And if you want to join those, be sure that you register for those. So you can register for them at academy.travefy.com and you'll get the information and the invite to join those sessions later on. The other thing I want to mention too is we'll be recording each session as well, including this one. So after the sales workshop wraps up, later tomorrow, I'll have all the replays available on academy.travefy.com. But after this, you will also receive an email automatically with the recording to this specific webinar. So you can view it right after this as well. So if you need to leave halfway through, that is okay. You'll get it afterwards and you can view it again there. And Korrine will also be providing a free printout after this webinar as well. And so we're super excited that she put that together for everyone here today, but that is going to be on that email as well. So you'll get that after this too. The last thing to note too is that we do plan to have time at the end for Q&A. So as this webinar goes on and as the presentation is going, you can ask those questions in that question box, and we might just be able to go over those at the end. So now, after all of that, a lot of housekeeping things, I want to introduce our speaker and presenter today, Korrine Johnson. So here's a little bit about her and how we're so excited to have her on here. So Korrine is neck deep in the travel industry. She's the creator of Travel Biz Boss and co-owner of Journeys Travel Company. She always wanted to be in the travel industry and finally made the jump in 2007. After working for someone else for a few years, she and her business partner decided to start Journeys Travel Company in 2011. They pretty much hit the ground running and hustled like crazy to become a top 10 agency with their host. In 2018, she discovered that she was passionate about helping others find success by offering an excellent client booking experience using systems and processes. During the pandemic, she and her co-host launched the Tin Lounge podcast, and she also partnered with another travel pro to co-create TA School. So, Korrine, thank you for being here with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so impressed you pronounced my name right. I'm so used to hearing Korrine all the time. So
I know. Well, yeah, I noticed that too, and I love that it's unique. I remembered it very easily.
It's actually an old lady name. It was my grandmother's name, and everyone who recognized it, it's always like, oh, my great aunt was named Korrine. So I love
Oh, I
it.
love that.
I am kind
Yeah,
of a
that's
granny,
awesome.
so. So thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. As Stephanie said, my name is Korrine, and I am all up in the travel business, which I really love. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Prior to 2020 and the pandemic, my personal annual travel sales were consistently somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million. So I say that not to brag, but I just want to clarify how I built that business. And I built that business without any marketing at all. Other than the very occasional random social media posts, I had no email marketing, no social media plan, no networking. My entire business is repeat and referral clients. Now, does that mean that I don't think that email and social media marketing are valuable? Absolutely not. And in fact, during the pandemic, I've been taking this downtime in travel sales to really work on those exact strategies so that I can help my team build their sales and so that I can be more connected to my clients. And that's definitely working. I absolutely think that you should be doing those things. But what I know for sure is that there is no marketing more effective than word of mouth. And repeat clients, those are the easiest and the least time consuming because they already know you. It's an easy yes. They know how you work. You don't have to explain yourself every time. It's just so much more smooth. I know that advisors focus a lot of energy on quote unquote getting clients through the door, but I have to really encourage you to focus more on what you do with the ones you do book so that your business builds itself and you're not constantly hustling for new clients. So, can we have the next slide?
Yes, there we go.
So, how do you turn a one-time client into a lifetime client? You do that by providing an outstanding experience. You are the steward of the client's experience from the time they book until the time they get home. You don't have much control over the trip itself because you're not there, but you do have control from that process from the time they make the deposit or you make the sale to the time they leave. And that is really where it's your opportunity to shine and stand out and make sure they know why they booked with you. So if you have a system in place, nothing's going to fall through the cracks. You're going to always execute that client experience consistently and nothing will ever fall through the cracks. So you will make your mark on the client's mind. They will always remember you. They will never forget you if you nail it the first time. And if you have a system, you'll nail it every time. If you have a destination-based niche, you may not be able to get as many repeat clients, but you can get your clients working for you with referrals. So if you make the booking experience memorable, they're going to tell everyone about you. I've got some tips here for creating your booking experience. You probably have some content you can repurpose. So think about emails you find yourself writing over and over. Think about information you've used to create social media posts or blogs. How can you turn those into touch points between the time your client makes their deposit and the time they depart? Think about which suppliers have great information you can just copy and paste into email templates as well. Use the right system for the job, which means the system that you will use. Don't try to use something that feels overwhelming or complicated just because it's what someone else uses. For example, if copying and pasting from a Google Doc feels the most comfortable and simple, then do that. If you have access to automation, take the time to set it and forget it. This is typically something you'll find in a CRM or an email marketing system, but both Gmail and Outlook do have canned email capabilities as well as email scheduling. Always use a workflow, which is simply a checklist of each and every step of your process. This way you can relax and follow the steps knowing nothing will slip through the cracks. In the workbook that Stephanie mentioned she'll be sending you, you're going to find a link to my free workflow toolkit. It will help guide you through documenting your process so that you can standardize it. Remember to be specific and include every single step, no matter how small or how much you're convinced you won't forget that step, because it's the only way that you can just let go, follow the plan, make more room in your brain, save time. Decision fatigue is very real. So creating your experience is as easy as 1, 2, 3. One, decide how many times you want to communicate with your client during the whole process. This is going to evolve over time. You'll start with however many times you come up with, and then you might find yourself cutting back or adding more to the process, but just start with something. Two, choose a storage and/or delivery system, hopefully one that offers at least semi-automation. It could be your CRM or your email marketing platform. And three, create some email templates and add them to your workflows, so your checklist. Don't forget to add the same info from your email templates into your Travefy library because you can use it in both places. And next. There are three main types of emails that should be in your client experience workflow. First one is CYA. We know what that means. Cover your buns. Those should include things like what to expect next, what are the required documents or other necessary information, things that they need to do, anything they need to fill out, and any reminders. I recommend that you include some of the CYA content in your final docs that you send in Travefy, because that's double CYA for you. So you'll drip the info by email into manageable bites along the way, but then you also have it in the documents so they can see all of the info at once, because some people will read those emails and some will ignore them, but they'll go through the documents with a fine-tooth comb. This way, you're getting the most out of that content because you've got touch points and you're making sure the client is fully informed. So they will not be able to say you didn't remind them. The next type is excitement generating. So that's just destination information, pretty pictures, anything at all that builds anticipation. Don't forget about the tourism board websites for each of the destinations that you're selling. They have tons of content in there you can grab and just send to your client, hey, thinking of you. Are you excited? You're going here in 6 weeks. This is where you'll be. I make digital postcards sometimes, like these margaritas aren't going to drink themselves. It doesn't have to be complicated, just anything to remind them you've got a vacation coming, get excited. And then you have relationship maintenance. So that's post-trip communications, like asking for reviews and feedback, welcome home, prompting them for referrals, and then hopefully you're doing at least like a monthly newsletter to help you stay connected with your clients, especially right now. And next slide. So here is like a basic framework of a minimal client experience workflow. You could do more than this, you could do less than this, but this is a great place to start if you nail these points and then kind of refine and revise from there. I have several different workflows. It depends on the type of trip. So I even have cruise line specific emails in my library. I get very detailed with links, to here's where the beverage packages are, cruise ticket contracts. I have a highly detailed one. However, to start with, you can just start with these basics. So we have something to welcome them that's aside from an invoice, that's thanking them for the booking and letting them know exactly what to expect next, and also outlining the best practices for working with you, like how to contact you in an emergency, things like that. Then about 90 days out, you could do, like I said, a digital postcard, video from the tourism board, a photo collage, just anything, just a little, hey, you're going to be here in 3 months. And 60 days out is often when you're going to need to start reminding them of things they may need to do. Do they need visas? Do they need to book things in advance? Use any affiliate links that you have. Do you have a Flightographer affiliate link? Do you have a Viator, Project Expedition, Skyroam? Any of those affiliate links, plug those in. If you have an Amazon storefront where you have travel equipment that you want to promote, include that there. That's when they're going to really be getting into the nitty-gritty. And then we have 30 days out. Sometimes you're going to repeat a lot of what you did in the 60 days out. Seriously, make your reservations. Things are going to start selling out, things like that. Any last minute tips, packing advice, money advice, when you're telling them you need to contact your bank and let them know where you'll be, that kind of thing. And then bon voyage, last minute. Again, you may be repeating some things. Don't forget to do X, Y, Z. This is how you contact me if you have an emergency while you're traveling. Anything like that. Next one. All right. Remember that the main ingredient in their experience until they leave is you. So be authentic in your communications, make it personal. If you're funny, be funny. If you're ultra professional, be that. Just make them love working with you. Let them know who you are. Okay? Let's go over some tips for repurposing the content you create, because you don't want to constantly be creating content. You're trying to sell travel. So quick question. I guess I won't be able to see, but ask yourself, how many of you only put the trip into Travefy once it's booked? You could, I suppose, put it in the chat. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but if...
Yeah, I'm looking on questions here. Oh, yep.
Okay.
Well, someone just said me.
Okay.
So there are.
In my opinion, it is a mistake to wait until the trip is booked to put it in Travefy, because you're losing an opportunity for them to show off your work to their friends, family, and coworkers. A Travefy proposal is a very attractive and easily shareable way to present the trip, and clients can rarely resist showing it off. I have learned this from my friends and family that I've booked that are telling me how they show everyone at work. My clients don't necessarily share that with me, but if my friends and family are doing it, I'm sure everyone is. I also strongly feel that it helps me to close more bookings, even on the first draft, because they're just so wowed by the presentation of it that they're just like, yes, sign me up. And you want to take the opportunity too to make it very personal when you put the proposal in there. So use their names, mention any special occasions, make it feel very customized for them. That's your opportunity. These days, people don't want to feel like they're just booking the same trip everyone else has. So you can use Travefy to help you really make it feel customized to them. Even if it is just a cruise or an escorted tour, that's how you can make it feel custom. So you'll also want to include some shareable graphics in your client experience. Encourage them to share it. And don't forget to ask them to use your hashtag. Tell them how to share it. If you like to send a gift, make it so thoughtful that they're bound to snap a photo and tag you on social. Thoughtfulness goes way further than expense, so don't feel obligated to give a gift if you can find clever ways to make your clients feel seen and understood. And if you do get a gift, it does not have to be expensive as long as it's thoughtful. As I mentioned, present the proposal and final docs in a beautiful, shareable way. And last, have an email template to ask for referrals and reviews. You won't be shy about it if you don't have to think of what to write each time. For reviews, I recommend including an example of a review for them to model theirs after. Keep it short and easy. All right. These are a few tools that you can use to create and execute your client experience. So for looking professional and branded, you've got hopefully a CRM. Travefy nails it every time. You'll look super legit. Canva is a great way to create things, graphics with your logo, make everything branded and looking great. And then your email marketing platform is another tool if you have one of those that can help you with consistency and branding. And then for workflow and scheduling, hopefully your CRM has some capabilities there. Your email marketing platform usually has some automations. Using Google Calendar, just for reminders if you're keeping it really basic. Something like Trello, Asana, or ClickUp can help you with that. You could just print out a checklist for each booking. And then, like I mentioned, Gmail and Outlook both have scheduling, scheduled emails. I can't speak. You know what I'm saying. And the Google Streak is another neat tool that you can actually create a pipeline and move your clients through the steps, and it has mass emailing and email scheduling and email tracking. So that's an interesting tool you might want to take a look at. So those are the basics for creating and executing a client experience. I would love to know if you have any questions about why or how or anything you have.
Yeah, that was great, Korrine. So we have some questions coming in here, so I'll just start asking them to you. So
Great.
So from Erica, she said, I'm using Dubsado, and I wonder if I'm saying that correctly, for my
Yep.
CRM tool. What CRM do you use?
So I think Dubsado is a wonderful product and a wonderful company. I use TravelJoy, which I think is almost like the travel-focused version of Dubsado, but I think Dubsado has more automation capabilities. So I think you've chosen a great tool.
Awesome. Perfect. So another question here from Aaron. Can you give an example of a canned review email, or basically they're wondering how to ask for reviews?
Okay, give me one moment here.
No problem.
You can keep it short and sweet. People just got back from their trip and they don't want to spend a lot of time. So you can just say something like, welcome home. I would love to know any feedback you can share. It's so helpful for me. If you have the time, would you mind giving me a review? Make sure you include the link to where you want them to post it. So all they have to do is click once and then do a, here's an example of a review in case you need some help composing it. And of course, as I'm talking, I can't find my template. Let's see here. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't ask for reviews, which sounds crazy because I'm telling you that I built my entire business on repeat and referrals. I do prompt for referrals. I don't ask for reviews. I just have never felt the need to do it, but I know it's important to a lot of agents. And I don't know what's going on with
Yeah, no
technology
worries.
today, but I
Oh,
cannot get
yeah, no.
this. But the point is, just keep it very short and sweet. Welcome home. How was everything? Any feedback that you can share with me would be greatly appreciated. If you have time to share a review about my services, I would be so grateful. Here's the link. And in case you need an example, just do an example below and make sure it's short and sweet, but hits all the best points of how you like to be reviewed. Like pick your best one and give that as the example so that they'll model after it and hopefully give you just as good of a review.
Awesome, perfect. And a follow-up question to that one that just came in. Debbie asked, do you give the client a thank you for any referral? So how do you approach that? Do you just send them an email, or how do you usually
I
approach that when you get a review?
absolutely email them immediately with all the thanks.
Perfect.
There's different attitudes about giving a gift for referrals, and if you want to set up a structured program, you can do that if that's what works for you. I have found that clients are thrilled just to be recognized. So if that client is on your social media, tagging them, thanking them publicly, that's huge. People just love to be recognized. But the biggest thing I would say is just to immediately email them, or call them. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's the best compliment you could give me, and just recognize them right away for it. I think that's the most powerful piece.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense there to thank them right away. And Denise asked, is there any examples of small and not expensive gifts that have wowed?
Okay, so this is where I say you have to be thoughtful because it depends on the person and the trip. So I have a client who books like $80,000 trips with me sometimes, like half world cruises on Viking, that kind of thing. She is she's not always quite that high of a spend, but it's always good quality. She is my best client. She was doing an insight tour in Ireland and England, and I sent her a pub cookbook and a box of tea. And you would have thought I sent her a bar of gold and a handwritten note, of course. That's what I'm saying. It does not think about the person, think about the trip. Don't send, I'm not going to say don't. If you have branded things that you can throw in, that's fine. But combine that with something thoughtful about them or where they're going. You know, if they're going somewhere cold, cozy socks. If they're going to Galapagos, something naturey or an anorak, or, that gets a little more expensive. But the point is to think of something that fits the situation and the person. If you're just sending out like one standard gift to everyone, it's going to look like that. So
Yeah.
if you have Amazon Prime, you don't even have to do the handwritten note necessarily. You could just have something shipped to them for free, which is what I'm going to have to do because I'm going to be based in Mexico soon, so I can't mail things. So I'm going to have to keep it really simple, but just give it some thought. Doesn't have to be big, and you don't even have to do it as long as you're thoughtful in the way you communicate with them.
That's awesome. And side note, really jealous that you're going to be based there for a while.
Thank you.
Sounds amazing. So Karen asked two questions in one, so I'm going to split it up a little bit. So the first question is what were the first items that you began automating?
Okay, so it's so funny. I was just discussing this earlier. I don't have email automation for my client experience. TravelJoy doesn't offer that yet. And I like that because they do make it it's semi-automated, so it's like 3 clicks, but it helps me keep my finger on the pulse of who's traveling and when. I'm still in touch. I way back when I started, I just had email draft in my actual drafts that I would just copy and paste into new emails. So now I have that semi-automation where I have a workflow in TravelJoy and it reminds me to send the emails, and it takes 3 clicks per email to send, but I'm still in touch. But there are CRMs that have full email automation. And here's what happens. When we're dealing with a lot of new business, we tend to let this part go because when we don't have a lot of time, we're focused on the new money coming in. I believe that that is a mistake because the relationships that you build with your clients are what is going to sustain your business long term. So if you have emails scheduled to at least semi-automate where it's just a quick click for you to do, or you can set up the scheduling, like I said, in Gmail, actually schedule the emails to go out on the dates. Then it happens, right? You don't deprioritize this part of the process. So any way that you can email and automate the email piece of it, I would start with that. And then, of course, with your email marketing platform, you could bulk write email newsletters if you're not focused on current events. Right now, because of the pandemic, all of my emails are very personal, and I really talk about what I am doing. Pictures of my dogs, like bread that I'm cooking, and I'm telling them the latest news, so I can't write those ahead of time. But when we're not in pandemic mode, you can absolutely write and automate email newsletters, and you can do that through your email marketing platform, or that Google Streak that I mentioned does mass emails, like a mail merge. Those are the main things: getting those emails, getting those touch points out, and automating that so that you don't decide, I don't have time for that today, I'm too busy getting new sales. And then you know, once you book a client, you can do a great job, but they're constantly being marketed to by the internet and all of our other competitors. So you want to just be staying in touch along the way so they never forget you. So if someone mentions travel, they're like, oh, you should work with, Karen that I work with. So I started by semi-automating my emails, and that's what I would recommend, is automating those touch points so that that client experience piece is going to happen.
Yeah, so important. And I'm sure that's going to start happening once travel does begin opening back up in a larger scale. Yeah, everybody on here is going to be crazy busy in a very good way. But
exactly.
Yeah, so
but if you don't want to always be hustling for new business, so you want to make sure that you set it and forget it in whatever way you can. Make it as easy as possible so that you don't decide that it's not a priority in the heat of the moment when you've got a bunch of new bookings coming in.
Absolutely. And a question that just came in from Simone, I want to ask right now because it kind of fits pretty well with what you just answered. She asked, what suggestions do you have for sending electronic postcards?
I just do a Canva postcard, and then I schedule the email. I just put it in the body of the email.
Awesome. Perfect. That's great. And so now that other part of Karen's question that I want to ask, because this is a good question of, what if there are 15 months between deposit and departure? So basically the timeline that you went over, what if that is a lot larger? How do you deal with that? Do you just split things up a little further apart, or do you add more things in there, or how do you handle that?
So I would say a mixture of both. So if it's that long, then I immediately start, when I book it, I'm like, okay, we need a couple more touch points in here. So I go ahead right then and there and decide what those are going to be and try to schedule them, or at least put reminders on my calendar saying, touch base with so-and-so. I would say that the 60-day and the 30-day and the bon voyage should always remain pretty constant. The 90-day could be pushed out a little bit further. You don't necessarily need it at 90 days. So if it's 15 months, maybe you do, I would say reach out at least within the first 6 months, and then maybe 4 months, and then we're getting into 3 months, 60 days. You know, you sort of ramp it up as you get closer, if that makes sense. You don't have to be in touch once a month. You can be, it won't hurt. And especially make sure you get them on your newsletter so that they still are getting that touch point from you separately. But you want something that is direct communication between you and them about the trip that is on the books, to be reminding them of that as well. So I would say both. Stretch it out, but ramp it up as you get closer, and still do the 60-30 and the bon voyage.
Awesome. Perfect. That makes total sense. And a question that I just personally have for you is, what is your personal favorite step in the workflow? So do you love the part that right when you first start talking to them, or right after they book, or is it right before they go, or after? Where's your favorite part?
Definitely the very beginning of the process, the excitement, getting them ramped up, getting them excited, and the victory in closing the sale. So I love creating the proposal. I love having something like Travefy to present it. I definitely get a personal feeling of glory when they take the first draft. So if it's like an FIT and they have all these things they want, but I put it together like, yep, that's it. Let me give you the deposit. That is like extra bonus points, my personal competition for myself. And I don't think that you can do that if you don't present it in a really attractive way. You need to be really impressive at that point. And I love, it's like my creative outlet to create like the electronic postcards and the newsletters and all those things that are pretty. That is the creative side of me. Not everyone has that. Not everybody wants to do that. One of my close travel advisor friends tells me, if you put a gun to my head, I could not create that. It's just not her bag. Luckily, there's plenty of people out there who will do it for you, and it's not very expensive. So don't get hung up on it. If you don't enjoy doing that, just go buy templates from someone, or hire someone to create them for you and be done with it. Don't beat yourself up if that's not your jam. But that's the fun part to me, is creating the pieces that get the excitement, that get people all pumped up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And that would be really fun too, because it's the beginning and it's exciting.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and Karen asked a question right now. She said, do you create your, if you're booking a cruise, do you create that proposal in Travefy as well?
It depends. So I do have a whole section of clients that are just quick, bing, bang, boom, that just come to me and they're like, I want this cruise on this date. I want this type of cabin. And I just send them the email. This is how much it is. And they say, put it on the card on file and we're done. And they would be annoyed if I sent them a big presentation, because they already chose the cruise they want, right? But
Yep.
if it's not that kind of client, if I am putting together the options for them, or they're new and I really want to knock their socks off, absolutely. So I make that decision on a case by case basis. But if in most cases, I would say yes, do that. And for my newer agents that come on board, I always tell them, present everything in there, like blow them away right off the bat. Because I don't know, Karen, if you're a newer agent, but I think a challenge we all have when we first start in this business is that your personal network thinks, oh, how cute. She has a new hobby, like selling essential oils or something, like it's equated to that. And so we have to come out swinging, looking super legit. We need a good looking website. We need professional tools. We need to be able to collect credit card information, or, authorizations in a professional way. And we need to present options in a beautiful way. And when you send somebody a proposal, even if it is just a basic cruise, even if it is just a all-inclusive and a flight package, they're going to be like, oh, Karen is serious. She is a professional. This is not a hobby. So that's why I say use it as much as possible. But if you have a client that really just wants to get down to business and already knows exactly what they want and they just want a price, you don't necessarily have to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, that it helps too, and you have your workflow already set up, because
Yes.
your branding will all match with it too. And yeah, and so it
Yes.
just helps. I see what you're doing here
100%.
now. I'm catching on.
100%. Everything being really cohesive. And just like you said, if you have a workflow and you're just kind of following through a checklist, it is so much less stress on your brain. And that's why I say be very detailed in your workflows. Every single thing, double checking passports against your supplier invoice, asking if anyone has any medical or dietary issues, including pregnancy. And I write including pregnancy in all caps on my workflows because it's one of those things that you could just get into a habit and you don't do it. So be very specific so that you can relax during the process and know you're going to cover all the points because it's all right in front of you on a checklist. And that's so much less weight on your brain.
Yes, absolutely. That makes sense. And another question here on kind of on automating is Denise asked, do you recommend sending out emails in your email marketing platform or from your CRM?
It depends. If your CRM has email marketing capabilities, are you talking about mass emails is what I'm wondering. Okay. If your CRM has mass email capabilities, you don't necessarily need a separate tool to do that. But if you mean like sending each thing, and are we talking about the workflow or the newsletter? I'm sorry. Can you read the question again?
Yeah, so do you recommend sending out emails in your marketing, or sorry, do you recommend sending out emails in your email marketing platform or from your CRM? And
Okay.
I believe it might be like, yeah, like in your workflow, not mass ones.
Okay, that's the part I was misinterpreting. All right, so for your workflow, I send it right through the CRM, particularly Travel Joy. It keeps all the messages in one spot. You could send them right from your email though too, because sometimes an email marketing platform offers the opportunity to automate that, but you really have to be pretty tech savvy to execute that. So like for me, I would rather just have the reminder and send the email right from my email or my CRM. And my CRM has the workflows that give me those reminders, but you can remind yourself in any number of ways. So I would just do those one at a time. I wouldn't go to the trouble unless you're extremely tech savvy of setting up those workflows on the email marketing platform. I would just handle it right through your CRM or your email. Newsletters, different story.
Yeah, and I was actually going to ask, what do you include in your newsletter?
It depends, and I highly recommend that you have some place that you keep, and it should hopefully be digital. If you know me, you already know I'm anti-paper, but if you're a paper person, that's fine, do that. But I like to have something on my phone where when I have an idea for newsletter, post, Instagram story, anything, that I can record that so that when I need to put something out, I already have a list of things. So I have a list of travel tips. So I just, as I think of them, I make this whole list. Well, right now I'm focusing much more on personal stuff. I am updating people with the latest in travel news. I always start with a little something personal, a greeting and a picture of myself, and I sort of talk about what I've been up to and what I've been booking so they know what people are booking. My host agency does do these grab and go emails, so sometimes there's some marketing pieces that I will incorporate. I wasn't doing that at the beginning of the pandemic, but I'm starting to just, not anything overly salesy, but I'm just mentioning a few things here and there so that if people are ready, I have a link to our services menu that's consistently there, and also my social media links are consistently there. At the bottom, I always put, there's some kind of a theme of 3 personal photos from my travels, pictures of my dogs, bread that I'm baking, anything like that. That personal connection, if you don't think your clients want to see that, you are wrong. They do. So it's like a mixture of this personal connection stuff and then relevant stuff. So it might be a travel tip. It might be what's a trend right now. I was putting a couple weeks ago about how a lot of people are opting for vacation rentals, and we happen to partner with a company that does that. I'm definitely not promoting like Airbnb or anything like that. I'm going to talk soon about slow travel, talk about some money tips people might not really think about that are a little different. But you can, again, when I was talking about repurposing content, look at your social media posts. What's in there that you can actually expand upon a little bit and put into a newsletter? How can you reuse the things you've already done, make them a little longer? And then for sure, when you do write that long form content that's in your newsletter, you also need to be creating posts and stories based on that same content. If you can coordinate that time-wise, fine, but if not, no problem. Because the point is that you're consistently in touch so that when they think of travel, they think of you. You don't have to be a genius here. It does not have to be hard, and it can be really short and sweet. Mine is always like that: greeting, then some other chunk of thing. I'll talk about a travel tip. I'll talk about a booking trend. I will talk about some subject that's relevant to travel, then a little few lines about what's going on in the news, and then that personal bit. Here's some pictures from my favorite place, Vienna. You know, it's not hard. And then if you create a template and you're just kind of plugging new stuff in, just like you would in a Travefy, right? You probably have like a whole flow that you do, and they all look similar, and you have your content library. Once you get the layout, it's just a matter of popping in new information and just sending it. My subject line is a note from Korrine, always. I don't try to be flashy. My open rate is usually 30%, which is pretty good. I get responses of people saying that they really look forward to them because, again, it's that personal connection. We're not talking much right now because people haven't been able to book. But trying to be flashy or salesy in the subject line is basically what I'm getting at, that you don't really want to do. Just a note from Korrine is what I put. So definitely feel free to use that for yourself if you think that'll work. See what your open rate is like. You can play around. A lot of email platforms have a split test you can do, so you can see who open, you know, which subject line do people open more. But don't overcomplicate it, don't overthink it. And even if it is just a picture and a personal note about what you've been up to, that's fine too. It doesn't have to be crazy.
Yeah, anything too big or crazy. I like that. There's so many good ideas in there. That's awesome.
You could also put a link to a Travefy itinerary you've done recently, because some people, maybe they just book basic stuff. Maybe they just book cruises with you and they don't really realize that you can do a whole custom experience for them. Like, hey, look at what I booked. Even if you didn't book it, just say, this is what I booked this week, you know, and let them play around with that. Just inspiration.
Yeah, nope, that's exactly it. And promise everyone we did not pay her to say that.
No, I will always be telling you, use and reuse and reuse and reuse, because to try to come up with brand new content all the time would be exhausting, and you don't need to. First of all, people do need to be reminded of things more than once. Secondly, you're doing it in different platforms. You can coordinate it or you can spread it out, but they still want to see it, and you're hitting a different audience with each thing too. So don't feel like, oh, I'm just saying this too much. You're not.
Yeah, no, that's great. Those are great tips. So now going back to the beginning of the process of getting a potential new client, Dana asked, do you send out a questionnaire to qualify your clients before you begin planning?
Yes, I highly recommend having an inquiry form. Mine is embedded on my website. So not only when someone contacts me, whether it's through a DM, whether it's through email, or if we happen to start on the phone, then I say, I'm going to send you this link. Not only am I driving them to my website, which helps legitimize me, but then I have a detailed questionnaire there that people could also accidentally run across, I suppose. And sort of like I was saying before about using your personality, don't be too rigid there. Like, depending on the type of client you're looking for, you can inject some fun. So I have some fun questions at the bottom of mine, and I say these are totally optional, but I love it so much when my clients do fill it out, because I feel like I'm getting a peek at their personality a little more and I'm able to serve them a little better. Some clients love it and they write paragraphs, and some skip it, and that's totally fine. And that lets me know this client isn't is all about the business. So I'm going to be all about the business too. And constantly be refining your inquiry form. Notice when something isn't working. Maybe you need an extra question. Maybe you need to take one out. Same thing with your workflows. Like, constantly be evaluating, do I need another step in this workflow? Do I need another question in this to make sure that I'm offering the best options up front? Because clients really don't like it when you have to keep going back and forth. And I'll just give you this side tip. Say you have a client that just wants to get on the phone. They don't want to fill out a form. They're older, whatever the case is, they're a phone talker. You pull up the form and fill it out yourself, so that you do not forget to ask an important question, because there's nothing more embarrassing when you get through this big long consultation, and then you got to call them back and say, oh, I'm sorry, what airport are you departing from again?
Yeah.
So it's another way that you can sort of relax and have the conversation knowing you're not going to miss anything because the questions are right in front of you. Same thing like a
Yeah.
workflow.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I love the idea of asking those fun questions to get an idea of what their personality might be like. That's something that I think a lot of people forget. And then, and then you're talking to them on the phone. You're like, oh, sorry, I, got the wrong impression or something. So that's cool. That's cool. A
Yeah.
good nice little thing there to do extra.
And ideally that form then leads to the consultation call, but you've got a head start so you can show up to that call prepared, and that call is going to be really productive.
Yeah, absolutely. And quick question on the newsletter. So we had this question come in. Mallory asked, can we sign up for your newsletter? So Korrine, where do we go to sign up for this newsletter? I think everyone's excited for it.
If you go to my website, it's journeystrvl.com. There should be a pop-up there where you can sign up. I think there might even be a lead magnet there, but I haven't looked at it in quite some time. My assistant did it, so I don't even know what it is. That's something that's on my list that I'm trying to work on during this downtime as well. You could also go in and take a look at my inquiry form while you're there. You can see on the homepage we have a little space for all of our advisors, and each one, if you click on the Learn More button, has the inquiry form. And feel free. I don't care if you want to use those same exact questions. No one's going to know.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I believe too, everyone on the article for on academy.travefy.com, the article for the sales workshop, I believe your website's on there already, and if not, I'll add it. So if anyone wants to go on there and look too after this, and I'll make sure to update that on there.
And if you go to my Travel Biz Boss website as well, you can get on that newsletter, which is different. That one's aimed right at you with different tips and things about running your business. I realize in this case you want to get an example of a newsletter, and I'm totally cool with that too, but sign up for both.
Yeah, go check it all out. Another question here. I know we're coming up on time, but another question from Kiana. She asked, do you keep your personal and business social media separate?
Yes and no. I actually don't necessarily recommend that you have a separate social media account. I do think you should be using your personal account to make sure that your network knows what you do. But you should also have a professional one, so for legitimacy reasons, just as I was explaining before. So like we have a company one, so I encourage all of our associate agents to post on their personal pages, and they can have a separate, more professional one if they want, but what they can do is share from the professional one to their personal one. So again, you have that legitimacy. This is a real company. This isn't just my hobby that I'm doing. But you really trying to get all of your personal network to subscribe to this new professional handle isn't always going to work. So even if you do separate them, I still recommend you share something from your professional one from time to time, because you do want everyone in, like when I don't actually want all the people I directly know calling me for travel help necessarily, because that can get dicey, but I do want them to recommend me to every single person that they know that I'm like one spot removed from, and they won't take, we all know that the people closest to us will take advantage of our time. So that's why I don't necessarily shoot for them, but I do want to make sure that if someone around them mentions travel, they say, oh, you need to call Korrine. And the way that I do that is that I just make sure that I'm occasionally popping into my personal, sharing something about travel so that nobody ever forgets what I do for a living.
Yeah, and yeah, that does. And what is personally your favorite social media platform that you spend the most time on?
Definitely Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram. Perfect.
Yeah, Facebook is important too, especially for the little bit older generations that have usually more disposable income. So personally, I would never not be on there, but I know plenty of advisors that don't want anything to do with it, and they're doing just fine. So that's just a totally personal choice. Instagram is just my favorite because it's, like I said, I'm about the visuals, the pretty. I love it just being a lot of pretty and not so much chatting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I always feel like it's a very travel oriented platform too, because there's so many just the pictures. Exactly. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, no, that's great. And really quick too, can Nadia ask, can you please repeat the website with the questionnaire form? She didn't get time to write it down. So did you
Yeah.
say that one more time?
So that's my travel website, which is just Journeys TRVL. So like travel with no vowels. So journeystrvl.com.
Perfect. That's awesome. And everyone too, I will put that, I'll make sure that that's on our article after this as well, so that you can check it out there. But really, I just want to say thank you so much, again, Korrine, for sharing your all your tips and tricks and wisdom with us here today. I know there was a lot of takeaways, and I want to thank everybody else also for taking time to join us. And yeah, and Korrine, is there anything else that we missed that you want to end with?
I don't think so, but this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you having me, and I hope that everybody gets in touch.
Yeah, and again, I'll have all that information for Korrine on the article, and then you'll also get the free download after this. And I bet it will just take under an hour, and then everybody will receive that. So if you have any issues, though, just email us at academy@travify.com, and we can get you set up. But other than that, thank you so much, everyone, again, and thank you, Korrine, for spending time with us. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.